Hey everyone, thanks very much for tuning in. Thanks for watching. My name is Jay Ferguson. Some of you out there might know me from the band Sloan here in Canada. We've been a band for a very long time, 33 years and counting. And, parallel to those 33 years of playing music, and even prior to that, I've always loved collecting records. And even when I was very young, I liked collecting lots of things. I was really into collecting hockey cards and comics as a kid, and then I really got into collecting records around the age of 12. And around that time, I started working at a used record store in Halifax, Nova Scotia, et cetera, et cetera. I've always enjoyed making music, for sure. Very lucky to be able to do that, but I've always enjoyed consuming music, I guess you could say. Collecting records has always been a big thing for me. And I found during the pandemic, while being kind of cooped up, as you might say, I really found my attention being drawn to YouTube, and a lot of the content that people on YouTube that was based around collecting, and especially the stuff being made by record collectors and people in the so-called vinyl community. So a lot of it, a lot of people who were very into, so almost like the monetary side of it, and then some were into the pure collecting side of it, and then some were sort of in between there. But I found it all very interesting, and the ones that I found most interesting were the ones who were very enthusiastic about what they collected, really enthusiastic and very passionate. And I found I was learning a lot as well. Like, people would show some records or some stuff from their collections, and I'd be like, oh, I've never heard of that, but that sounds fantastic. I should go and check it out. Or stuff that people had bought recently, I would, sort of make note to check that out. So I found it very engaging, and I enjoyed a lot of the content. So that brings me here to this day. I kind of thought for a little while, I've been thinking like, hey, I wonder if I should sort of do a video like that and maybe, show off or whatever, some things that I have in a collection, not show off, but you know what I mean? Try and share some things that I find interesting in my record collection, or things that I bought recently, and try and make a video like that and see if anybody would find it interesting at all. So that brings me here today. So I thought I would try my hand at making a video, and I thought this was a better time, or a good as time as any, because a couple of weeks ago, my girlfriend and I went to New York City, and it was lined up very perfectly with the WFMU Record Fair that they held in Manhattan at the, what was it called? Sorry, I have notes so I don't completely screw up. At the Metropolitan Pavilion in the Chelsea district on November 1st and 2nd. And it's been well over 10 years since I've been at the WFMU Record Fair. And so I was very excited to go again. And I went on the first day for the early bird, 12 noon on the Friday. That means the early bird means you could pay a little bit extra and get first crack at the dealers for about 3 hours before the general admission of $5 starts at 3 p.m. So the early bird was a little more expensive, $30, but I couldn't resist. I had to go. I was too excited. And that also gets you entry in the second day. So it was fun. I ran into a lot of friends who I haven't seen in a long time. And there was tons of great dealers, tons of amazing stuff. I could have spent so much money. I've sort of put myself on a bit of a budget, not completely, but just sort of a bracket that didn't move too much. But I could have spent, thousands in the first 10 minutes. There were so many awesome, cool, rare records there. And anyhow, so I thought I would show off show off. I keep saying the word show off. It's not show off, but kind of wanted to share some of the things that I picked up at the WFMU Record Fair. And WFMU, by the way, are sort of a free-form independent radio station in New York City, for those who don't know. And they're in New Jersey, but they broadcast into New York City. And they've been big supporters of our band Sloan for a long time. And so I was very happy to go back and support WFMU by going to the record fair, and anyhow, just excited to see what was for sale. I was actually looking for some more British UK pressings by people like Jimmy Campbell or his band Rockin' Horse, and I didn't really find those things that I was looking for. But one of the things that I was looking for, and I found a bunch of examples of, and I'll show them to you in a minute, are sort of late 70s, early 80s, independent kind of guitar pop, power pop singles from the States and Canada. And I find that was a real golden era for a lot of bands that maybe had, one song or two good songs, and they happened to release it as a 7-inch single, and then maybe that's all they ever did. Or they were on like a really small label, and maybe that small label only released 4 or 5 records. It's just kind of it's kind of fun sort of finding those really rare and obscure artists who, had such a limited output, but maybe had one really awesome song that, in a different time and place might have been a big hit. And I really like that era. It kind of runs parallel to the era of the the punk single and the hardcore singles that were coming out around, especially in the late 70s and into the early 80s. The 7-inch single was such a fantastic platform or calling card for punk bands who maybe had a bunch of songs that were like a minute and a half or 2 minutes, and they could cram 3 to 5 of these on a 7-inch single. And a 7-inch single was so inexpensive to manufacture back then that it really was, like I said, the calling card of a lot of punk bands. But like I said, running parallel to that, there was a lot of bands who were not necessarily punk bands, or maybe they were inspired by the do-it-yourself mode, but came from a less aggressive background, and maybe were influenced by things that would have come out of the UK in the 1960s, whether it's The Who or the Beatles or the Rolling Stones and things like that. And I find myself gravitating towards a lot of those cool records. So having said that, here's some examples of some that I found while I was there. The first one I want to show to you, I went to this guy's table. There's a fellow by the name of Chuck Warner there, who's apparently, I had a brief chat with him, but he's been selling records sort of like post-punk, punk, power pop, new wave singles for well over 40 plus years. And he had a great table with tons of 45s and some cool stuff on the wall as well. And I saw this record on the wall, and I didn't know it at all, but I thought, I'm going to check it out and have a listen on my iPhone, and I really liked it. It's this artist by the name of Frankie Lamar from where's he from? Birmingham, Michigan. This is the only record this guy ever made. So that's the front cover, and the back cover there. The two songs are called Side A, or I should say it's called Side Rock. It's called Showbiz. And Side Roll, Side B, is called Kids with a Z. And the song that really attracted me to this was Showbiz. It's a really cool riff rocker, but with a very sort of unaggressive pop vocal on top of it. And it really reminds me of, it kind of sounds like, this is 1980, and while Red Cross were a band, in 1980, this sounds like something that Red Cross would have recorded in like 1986 or something like that. It really, it sounds like a long lost Red Cross style record. Anyhow, I listened to this on my iPhone. I really enjoyed it. Never heard it before, and happy to find it. And it was released on Rock Records. Kind of like, get to the point. What kind of records are we going to release? We're going to release rock records. So that's it. That's the label right there. Showbiz is the track that I love. So anyhow, really happy to find this. And like I said, Frankie Lamar made this one record and then kind of disappeared, basically, unless anybody out there, you could leave a comment in the comment below in case you know anything about anything more about Frankie Lamar. But anyhow, really enjoyed that record. Another one that I found at a different table was a 45 by this band, another band that this is their only release ever, and this one has 2 songs on it. It's by a band from, like I said, what did I say? Oh yeah, Tampa, Florida, and this is from 1977. A band called Just Boys, and self-explanatory, I guess. 3 lads there, Just Boys. The 2 songs on the record are Hook, Line, and Sink Her. not sink her, but sink her. And the B-side is what I really like. It's called Thanks a Lot. And there's the back cover as well. And it also comes with a cool little insert inside that's very sort of photocopied and do-it-yourself, which I love artwork that looks like that. It's I just find it's very appealing and charming. The other side has the lyrics on there. And anyhow, I found that they look like a band that would probably be into Big Star or whatever. And while I found the song that I really like, Thanks a Lot, sounds way more like Sparks, to be quite honest. And it's got sort of like a cool keyboard sound and a guitar sound that sounds like it's right off of Come On to My House. And even the vocal sounds a little bit like Russell Mael as well. And so I was very surprised about that. I don't know a lot about this band. I know the main songwriter, Terry Carolan, or the main singer, I guess I should say. I think he took this band to LA and they kind of fell apart. Nothing really happened. And then I think the fellow Terry moved to Texas and played in a couple other bands. But this was a record that I really did not know of, and I saw it and I just thought like, oh, I'm going to check it out. And I'm glad I did, because the track Thanks a Lot is pretty cool. So another sort of, unusual one-off kind of release and the record label, I should say, is Counterfeit Records, which apparently is Terry Carolan's own record label. So it's basically a self-released record. The only thing they ever did, kind of lost to time. Anyhow, happy to find that, Just Boys. Now the next one is more of a rocker, and it's sorry, I'm gonna flip my notes here. This is a band from, I guess they're closer to San Francisco in LA. And I had heard it before, so I was kind of looking for it, but I kind of forgot about it till I saw it at the fair. And I was happy to find it. It's a band, it's from 1977. It's a 4-song EP by a band called La Rue, Larue. And the EP is called Live at Mabuhay Garden. And only 2 tracks are live, to be honest. The other 2 are from studio sessions, Whiskey Sour and Hot. Those are the 2 songs that I really like. The B-side is a song called Why, which live is great, and It's All Over Now, the old Bobby Womack song, also made famous by the Rolling Stones. I find this is very, it's definitely more rock and roll, almost in the vein of like the New York Dolls or the Brats, who are kind of contemporaries of the Dolls in New York City. And but I love it. And the main singer, I forget his name. Oh, Bob Banks, who I assume this is Bob Banks right here. A great rock and roll singer. I loved it. Anyhow, they have one other single that's called Clowns, and the B-side is Past and Future. And I think that's the only other 7-inch that La Rue has available. So it's another band. They've made 2 records and then kind of disappeared, but a couple of great rockers. And I'm still looking for the other one, Clowns, but I was very happy to find this EP at the record fair as well. At the same table, I actually found these next 2 records, which don't really fall into that late 70s, early 80s sort of power pop rock and roll category. I'm a big fan of 60s rock and roll, and a big fan of Mersey Beat, and also have a soft spot for bands like Jerry and the Pacemakers. I get a lot of flack, and I can understand why, but I have a soft spot for Jerry and the Pacemakers records, and I stumbled across this. I knew this existed, but I completely forgot that I was actually looking for it. Jerry Marsden, after Jerry and the Pacemakers broke up, he made a solo single recording of Gilbert Green, which is a Bee Gees song. Not as good as the Bee Gees, in my humble opinion, but wonderful, still a wonderful record, and kind of a nice combination of 2 of my favorite British artists. Anyhow, happy to find that at the same table. It was only like $5 or $6, so happy to find that. And then a light galaxy away from Merseyside, I found Boosie's Rubber Band, Hollywood Squares. I'm a fan of all of the sort of Parliament, especially the 60s stuff, the Parliaments, but the Parliament and Funkadelic records of the 70s. And growing up in Halifax in the 1980s, you could find Parliament records and Funkadelic records at, flea markets and yard sales for $1 everywhere. So that's kind of how I built up my collection and my love of those records back then. and all the offshoot bands as well. So and that would include Bootsy's Rubber Band. But Hollywood Squares is the track. I think it's from Bootsy Player of the Year album, and the B-side I quite liked as well, called What's a Telephone Bill? Anyhow, awesome 7-inch with great artwork. Again, it was like $5, so I couldn't leave it behind. The next band I had heard of, but once again, as much like all of those, most of those singles there, you don't see, kicking around Toronto, where I am here in Canada, very frequently. And while I knew of this band, again, I don't really see this band's records turning up very much. They're from LA in about 76, 77. They started. They kind of went on to, I think they had a real record on Arista. So this is a band who actually made some singles and then made the jump to a major label. So a little bit different than the bands I was talking about. But originally, when they came out in 76, they were called Pop. And this is a very early single. This might be the first one. There might be one before it. But anyhow, cool sleeve. And the song is called Hit and Run Lover and Break the Chain. Now, this one is from 1976. And it almost sounds like it's not really informed by punk or even like 70s power pop at all. It sounds kind of still has like a 70s hard rock feel to it. And it's okay. Like, it didn't blow me away, but I still got it because I do kind of enjoy it. But anyhow, cool sleeve. But it's the other single by them that I found from 1977, which is this one right here, Down on the Boulevard. And I really, really love this track. Great melody, great harmony, much more obviously inspired by probably 60s British rock and roll and pop, and wonderful guitar in it as well. And I really enjoy this one a lot more. And on the B-side, they cover I Need You by the Kinks, and another original track called Easy Action. And there's the back of that one. An LA band, and like I said, they kind of went on to a major label, signed to Arista, and made at least one album. And I know they had another independent EP as well. I also want to show the back of the sleeve here, where they're obviously probably in LA in front of a Coca-Cola advertisement. But cool record as well. Again, not completely homemade, but on this small label called Backdoor Man. I don't know if you can see it very well, but that's the logo. And the reason I want to show that to you, because it kind of leads to the next thing that I found. There was a guy at one of the tables at the record fair, and by the way, I have some footage from the record fair, which I'm going to put up and intersperse into this video, just to give you a feel of what the fair was like. But anyhow, this guy at a certain table, he had a box of old magazines and fanzines and things like that, and as well as collecting records. I love old rock ephemera, rock magazines, fanzines, and stuff like that. And he had some great stuff. And he had this one that I had heard of, but I had never seen before. And the fanzine is actually called Backdoor Man. And I think the same people who put this fanzine out also ran the record label that the Pop were on. And anyhow, I love the kind of do-it-yourself, very cut and paste style of these fanzines. And often there's great, one-off interviews in these sort of things that never would appear anywhere else unless someone, transcribed them and put them on the net. The net, is that the word people use these days? Yeah, it's on the net. Anyhow, the internet, whatever. Anyhow, this one has got an article on the Flamin' Groovies, Iggy Pop, a cool interview with Blue Oyster Cult, Dwight Twilley. It seems like, there's other ones I have here too. There's always like an article or interview with Dwight Twilley in these. But anyhow, I was really happy to find this, and it was kind of goes hand in hand with the previous Backdoor Man records. So that was a cool find. And at the same table, I found a bunch of other things. There's a magazine that came out in the early, I don't know if it started in the late 60s, but the early 70s for sure. It's called Bomp magazine. Originally started as Who Put the Bomp. And it was run by a guy named Greg Shaw, who was, I think he was probably, he's a record producer, rock historian, writer, supporter of a lot of younger bands, but also a lot of, keeping the name alive of a lot of older bands that people might have forgotten about. But anyhow, I found from 76, 77, this issue of Bomp, the obligatory Dwight Twilley interview, but also an article on ABBA, Jack Nietzsche, and of course, a picture of Brian Wilson looking a lot different than he does today. But anyhow, love Bomp, great writing in those. But I was more excited to find an earlier issue of Bomp, as I mentioned, called Who Put the Bomp? And this is a fantastic, basically on newsprint, and cut and paste. Basically, I need a magnifying glass to read this, but it's all about the British invasion. So there's articles on Manchester music scene and, Mersey Beat, of course, and the Animals, and R&B leftovers, R&B bands that didn't make it. But so anyhow, a total nerd's delight for a guy like me. So I quite love this kind of stuff, and the writing is great, and the detailed information is pretty fantastic. In that's accumulated and documented in a pre-internet age, and also there was not a ton of rock history kind of magazines out there. So they're really kind of blazing a trail with that kind of stuff, and also championing stuff that was probably not particularly cool in this one came out in the fall of 73. So I don't think people really cared about Mersey Beat so much in the fall of 73. But anyhow, happy to find that. I've been looking for these for a little while. So that was cool. And another magazine that kind of ran parallel to that was, I'm using the word parallel a lot, but there are a lot of parallels here, I think. Trouser Press, run and started by our friend Ira Robbins. So Ira Robbins was also very kind to Sloan in the early days, a big supporter, and we're still in touch with him to this day. And he had this magazine, Trouser Press. I found a couple of sort of mid-70s or mid to late 70s issues, and maybe most people who know about this would be sort of might recognize that as the cover, but I found a couple of super early issues, and I was really happy to find them. Once again, kind of stapled together, almost photocopied looking. This is it was called the Transoceanic Trouser Press, an article on, I don't know if that's On the Move or 23 bands who are on the move, but anyhow, I have yet to completely check it out, but thing on Jeff Beck, early article on David Bowie, and this is issue number 4, so I was super happy to find this, and anyhow, great stuff. And I found one more as well, issue number 5, with an article on Sparks, Who bootlegs, Ron Wood, stuff on the Yardbirds as well. But once again, really, very homemade, and eventually became a much more professional looking magazine. But I find these charming, and I love the look of them. And like I said, I love old rock ephemera and magazines. So anyhow, happy to find that at the WFMU Record Fair. Now, I found a few records, but here's two of the sort of polar opposite records that I was excited to find, but are, well, one of them I was very excited to find. And it's a record I've been looking for quite a while. And the other one I wasn't really looking for, but I couldn't leave it behind. So the first one is a record by Nilsson, who I'm a big fan of. Harry Nilsson, great songwriter, fantastic singer, and I love pretty much all of his albums. And this one record I had been looking for, and a friend of mine has a copy of this, and I've always been a little bit jealous that he had a copy. And so anyhow, I was very happy to stumble across this at the WFMU Record Fair. The record is called, I don't know if you can see it properly, but it's called New Nilsson Songs. New Nilsson Songs. It's a record that was pressed by his publisher, Harry Nilsson's publishers, Perry Botkin and Gil Garfield, who had a rock music it was called Rock Music Company. It was a publishing company. And what they did was they took some of, I think this is from 1967, so it might even predate Harry Nilsson's first record. There's a couple of songs on here that were on Harry's first album, one of them being 1941, and There Will Never Be, and I think also Without Her is on this as well. But there's other songs by Harry Nilsson on this. One that's called A Boy from the City. It's a demo recording. There's a demo recording of a song called the La La Song. The Story of Rock and Roll, which was later covered, I think, by the Turtles and some other artists. But what this record is a collection of Harry Nilsson songs, some recorded in the studio, some are just demo songs of him with a guitar or a piano, and even some songs where other artists are singing Nilsson songs. So essentially, this was pressed up in order to send to record labels or send to artists in order to maybe lure them into or convince them into recording a Harry Nilsson composition in order to make money for the publishing company and Harry Nilsson as well. So it's almost like this record is kind of the modern version of SoundCloud or a Dropbox, basically. Instead of even making a tape, they just pressed up a bunch of these records and sent them around. So they think there's maybe a few dozen, maybe up to 100 copies of this record had ever been pressed. So I was very happy to find this. I've been looking for it for a long time. And you can see it says lead sheets on request, which sort of means, if an artist was interested in covering one of the songs, they'll send them the sheet music so they get the chords right and don't screw it up. So anyhow, wonderful record. It's cool hearing Harry, just like him and an acoustic guitar doing songs, or him and a piano and maybe a bit of percussion or something like that. And it's an unusual collection. And anyhow, very happy to find that at the WFMU Fair. I picked this up, by the way, from Rockaway Records, who are based out of California. They've been around for 45 plus years selling super rare stuff. And this was the most expensive thing I bought at the record fair for sure. But the records they had at their table were mind-blowing. Just like amazing $3,000 Beatle promotional Parlophone 45s and stuff. It was like a museum, their table. But anyhow, they're nice folks. They even gave me a little bit of a discount on that record. So that was very kind of them. The other record that I found that I was not looking for and I wasn't even expecting to buy, but I couldn't leave it behind the moment I found it, might be filed sort of more in the Sha Na Na category, even though I'll stand up for Sha Na Na. And my good friend Kevin Hilliard also thinks Sha Na Na were the best band at Woodstock. He might have an argument there. The Who, Creedence, Sly and the Family Stone, Sha Na Na, maybe. Anyhow, this band kind of fits in the Sha Na Na category a little bit. If you're a fan, or if you grew up watching Laverne and Shirley like I did, you might be familiar with Lenny and Squiggy and their record Lenny and the Squigtones. And it's not I haven't listened to the whole thing yet. It's not fantastic, just to warn you in case you're rushing out to buy this or look for a copy. But it's part of it is pretty amazing, and the front cover is great. And of course, Michael McKean, who went on to be in the fantastic movie Spinal Tap. And also, speaking of Spinal Tap, there's a credit for background vocals on here by Christopher Guest. Anyhow, so it's like a pre-Spinal Tap record, basically. And the clincher of the deal to buy this record was one of the things that's inside. And I just couldn't leave it behind once I saw this. So I just thought I would show you. There you have it. Love, Lenny and Squiggy. Amazing poster that I'll be framing and hanging in my living room. No, I'm just kidding. But how could you leave it behind? Look at those amazing Converse. Look at the high heel sneaker Converse. Fantastic. Anyhow, there you have it. Lenny and Squiggy, classic LP. Maybe I'll do another one of these and do a deep dive into the Lenny and the Squigtones LP. Anyhow, happy to find that at the record fair. Anyhow, those are kind of to me, some of the coolest stuff. Well, I don't know if you call Lenny and Squiggy cool, but that's kind of the stuff that I really was excited to find at the WFMU Record Fair. So anyhow, that's about it for me. Thanks very much for watching and tuning in. And if you went to the WFMU Record Fair and if you were there, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you picked up. Or if you know anything about the records, or if there's anything that caught your eye, please leave a comment and let me know what you thought of it. And also, feel free to like or to follow this. And this inaugural one, so hopefully I'll do some more in the future. I'll have to think of some interesting topics of some things that I could share from my collection, or perhaps some stuff that I find out in the wild on some recent trips. But anyhow, thanks very much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the records that I showed to you today, and hopefully we'll see you on another episode. All right, take care. Thanks.
I was backstage on the second show with him, and that's how I got to see him.
Yeah, that was good.
I feel like I'm not yeah. With him, we were shooting a documentary. We put out like a
right where I am standing.
What year was this?
This is the backside.
2004.
Alan Vega had a huge plastic bottle of vodka. He was finishing it on the couch. I thought it was a homeless guy. He wandered in.
Yeah.
And then he went on one of the road shows. What do you think?
I have two. I have inside my brain and back from extra copies.
And the Stooges.
Tell me an extra copy of Angry Samoans.
The Rolling Stones.
Angry Samoans.
Well, the only thing I've got here is the
right now,
Revenge of the Queer Pills.
To my left,
There
the
should be
one and only Systematic Sarah.
should be around where A should be,
How did it work?
angry.
Alphabetical.
Yeah.
Queer Pills.
Yeah. That was an alter ego band.
But isn't this, we talk about records a lot and all that.
They,
but isn't this
Rodney, they had too many queer jokes and right. Well, no, they weren't. No, they weren't. But they were. They had, yeah. That was their shtick. Well,
I had a song about Rodney.
yeah. So Rodney would play them. So they passed as the Queer Pills. They put out a single as the Queer Pills, and this is other stuff. This is later. Monkey song, I guess. Nomad. I don't remember Monkeys this week, but
Yeah, I don't have it. But yeah, I'm a huge Angry Samoans fan. Angry Samoans doesn't really have that. Like, they don't have any.
no.
Angry Samoans had a single 7-inch. Now I think about it. Yeah. They had like 12-inch EPs.
Yeah.
And no 7-inch.
That's true. What? Bottom's blown up.